We will record this session and publish it on YouTube as well. I see some people coming in. So I'll just start with the introduction on you and then we can get into detail. Welcome everyone to this first session of Caught in the Energy Web, the technical analysis series. With me is Nick from CryptoCoinTalk. Nick does technical analysis and I made an agreement with him to do this on a monthly basis. Today was the first day that we planned to do this technical analysis for EnergyWeb. It turns out to be a really good day to do that because, as you can tell, we've got a lot of price action going on, a lot of volume increase in the last 24 hours. So I'm really looking forward to what you have to say about this, Nick. And if you want to briefly introduce yourself further, you can, and then we can start.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for inviting me to the podcast. I'm looking forward to the next sessions as well. My name is Nick. I'm 27 years old. I've been in this market for 6 years already. I've the main focus on cryptocurrency, also some stocks, some forex trading, some commodities, but the main focus is on cryptocurrencies. I run two different companies in this market, a trade fund, investment fund together, and an educational platform, which is CryptoCoinTalk. We have focus on trading and investing in this market and how to do that, and that's what we teach our people in our group. So that's a little bit about me, and let's just dive into the technicals.
Yes, thank you for your introduction, and I'm really happy that you want to do this with us and to do this on a monthly basis. Um, I know that you always look at BTC as well, Bitcoin price action, as it determines a lot in the altcoin market. So I would say maybe we can start briefly with that and see where that might be going, and then place that into perspective with EnergyWeb and EnergyWeb's price action currently.
Yes, let me share my screen in a second. By the way, it's the first time I'm doing this in English, so I'm sorry if I sometimes have to look for some words, but I think I'll get through it.
So far, so
Can
good.
can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, we always start with Bitcoin. Why is that? That's because Bitcoin is the leading indicator of this market. If Bitcoin is in a bullish trending market, that attracts a lot of new money to this market. Why is that? Because if the price is rising pretty fast, you'll see it all over the news, in the newspapers, online articles, and that's why it gets a lot of attention, and people start to look how to invest in this market. People will always find Bitcoin first. People know about Bitcoin. People know what Bitcoin is, and eventually that money will also flow towards altcoins, of course. In the past weeks, we have seen that Bitcoin is doing pretty well. We've seen a surge from the bottom towards the high, which is around 57%, 55, which is quite good. And what you often see is once Bitcoin starts cooling off, starts cooling down in consolidation periods like here and like we've seen here, altcoins are performing really well. Why is that? That's because once Bitcoin starts cooling down, it isn't moving anymore. It isn't doing much. And logically, if you think about it, people are always looking for something that moves. So if Bitcoin starts cooling down, starts consolidating, starts raging like we currently are seeing, that's when altcoins perform really well. And that's what we've seen in the past few weeks, especially the AI sector, tokens like Fetch AI, AGIX, ORI, and there are a lot of other altcoins that are performing really well. So consolidations on Bitcoin are pretty good. That's something we need if we want to see altcoins perform really well. And that's why altcoins are doing pretty good at the moment. So what we're currently seeing is that Bitcoin is still consolidating, but it's showing weakness on the lower time frame. So let's dive into that. What we currently see is that Bitcoin took the high. So we took the liquidity above the high, and now we are trending down. And this is something that happens all the time in the crypto market and in forex markets, stock markets. It doesn't matter. In all markets, the price is always finding liquidity. It's always searching for liquidity. And if you know how this works, you can make a trade plan around it. So if Bitcoin takes the high, the most logical outcome after is that the price tends to look for the other side of the liquidity, which is over here. So what you in fact are doing when looking at the price, you are just forming a range and you look for the extreme. And once the extreme gets taken, so at this point it was the 23,960. Once that gets taken, you start looking for the other side, the other extreme of the range, which is this low. So what we can expect now is that price starts going lower towards this area. And from here, it's quite important what happens. If we start showing strength, we take the liquidity below, start closing above, maybe form some sort of bullish price action in the shape of a high, a low, a higher high, and now a higher low. You can start look for a potential entry on something like a demand, a support level, whatever you prefer in your own strategy, and you can then start targeting the high again. So that's
right.
what I'm looking for on the lower time frames. If we don't manage to get above here and we start rejecting fast, that means we're probably going to see a deeper correction, a deeper pullback, and it's again going to look for liquidity. And it's probably going to look for the liquidity below these lows. And from here, we'll do exactly the same. If we see strength, we can start looking for potential longs towards higher areas. If we show weakness, then we'll probably go lower. So it's not predicting. You're not predicting with technical analysis. You're just anticipating on that what happens. So it's really important to keep in mind what happens here at the low at around 22,292. If we start to show weakness and we start closing below, you know altcoins are probably going to perform worse than Bitcoin, because altcoins are like a leverage of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes down like 5%, altcoins go down 15%. If Bitcoin goes up 5%, altcoins go up like 15%. So that's something to keep in mind when you are trading altcoins, or in this case, Energy Web token. When we start looking at the bigger picture, and after we'll go to Energy Web token, of course. When we start looking at the big picture, it also works exactly the same like we saw on the lower time frames. So the major range, the big range, is this low and this high. So this is the range we are currently working with. And we took the low. And we can take the low on two ways. By just showing a wick, a strong buyback, and then start pushing higher, or by making a deviation of the range, start closing inside the range, and then you're probably going towards the other side of the range. So if we keep that in mind, it means we took the low. So we took the low and we are now looking for liquidity on the high. So even if we start retracing, it doesn't matter, because we're probably going to watch the price go up again towards this area. And as long as we remain inside this range of the 17.6 towards the 25.2, we are still range bound. So we are not trending on the macro environment. We are just consolidating, moving from the low to towards the high. moving towards from the high towards the low, and that's just how this range works until it gets broken either way. So we break down from here, we're probably going to see 12k, and if we start breaking above, that's when the real magic happens. That's when the real fun starts and we start trending up. That's when we probably can conclude that the bottom is already in. But for now, we need to remain cautious, especially when the price is nearing the high of the range. Because if we are showing weakness from here, then we took the liquidity from the high, and we're probably going to take the liquidity back on the downside. So that's something to keep in mind. So for now, Bitcoin is just ranging on the macro environment, and on the local time frame, we are ranging as well, which overall is good for altcoins. I think we'll just go to Energy Web Token first, and maybe after we can answer some questions if there are still questions. I know it can be a bit confusing, a lot of theories, a lot of concepts, but in the basics, that's how I trade, that's how I make my money, that's how I trade and invest with the trade fund I have in this market. And it works really well, but you need to understand the concepts, and I get that it can be quite difficult, but that's, yeah, it took me like 6 years to start understanding this, so don't blame yourself if after like one podcast you have no clue what is happening here.
So, Nick, if I understand this correctly, you have 6 years of experience. You can just tell us to buy or sell, right? You say you buy now, we sell now.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
We don't have to spend 6 years learning it.
I don't want to get you guys in trouble, so let's not do that. Would
Ah,
be
that's a
much
shame.
easier if somebody just says from buy here, sell here. Would
Why,
be
why did why did I invite you then?
yeah, you
Uh,
you invited the wrong man. I'm sorry.
yeah, I'll look for someone else then.
Yeah, sure. For the next
No, but
podcast.
let's get to Energy Web Token without joking around because I think that's what everyone came here for.
Yeah, of
Thank you very
course.
much so far. Great analysis. I love it.
Yes, Energy Web Token. We have seen quite a nice push higher. In one of the Telegram groups you are in as well, I showed on the lower time frames that a certain tweet of the crypto wizard was the reason the price pumped so big. It literally was. You can take a look at it at 1 minute, and then it just starts pushing. So there's a direct correlation with that tweet. It was a tweet about Elon Musk and something with renewable energy in the future, and they would make a big announcement the 1st of March, if I'm correct. But it doesn't really matter. We don't know if Energy Web Token is involved. We'll see. My best bet is just don't bet on it because, yeah, we just don't know. And I wouldn't invest in a certain project because of a certain announcement in the near future where it is completely unclear if a token like Energy Web Token is involved in this. So let's just focus on the charts, what we see based on the price action here. People are quite enthusiastic, which I understand, because if we start looking closely, price is pushing higher. We saw a nice pump of like 37%, which is really nice. But if we look at the macro perspective, same with Bitcoin, we are just consolidating. We are just ranging. We had a smaller consolidation. Maybe it's nice to show how that liquidity works on the lower time frames and on altcoins as well. So look at what happens here. Range low, range high. No clear trend, but at some point we start looking for one of the extremes. We left this open, but we went for this low. And right after we took the liquidity, we saw a huge pump of like 17%, which is nice. After that, we took the local high here, rejected here again, and starting pushing towards the other side. Then again, we took this low and starting pushing towards the other side, and we took all the liquidity. So not just the local liquidity over here, also this liquidity, and that's what strengthened the tweet of Crypto Wizard by showing good technical analysis in combination with some hype, some FOMO. It doesn't matter what the catalyst of certain price movements is, because there's always a reason for a price to move. But if you're trading based on technical analysis, you just can't make money by just predicting what the narrative will be. You just have to focus on the price action. All the information you need is on the chart itself. But it's nice to see that after you take liquidity, you see a move towards the upside. After you take liquidity here, you see a move towards the downside. After you take the liquidity here, you start seeing a move towards the upside. And like I said, at Bitcoin, as long as you stay in the range, you are range bound, you are just ranging, nothing else. But if you start closing outside the range, which really happened here, it could mean that the price could start trending. But keep in mind, it's still locally. It is locally, because this consolidation is inside the bigger consolidation, which is, I think, like here. I think this is the bigger range. So yes, it's a nice pump, but technically speaking, price hasn't done much. We are locally starting to trend towards the upside with higher lows and higher highs, which is nice. Which makes me believe that we could start pushing higher towards these highs over here, and potentially even the high. But as long as we stay inside that price action, so all the way till 5.50 is still range bound movements. So in order to start trending on Energy Web token, we need to do something bigger. On the macro perspective, this is what we're doing. Low, high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. And now we are trying to hold the potential higher low. So all we need to do to flip this environment, so from a bearish market, now more a sideways market, like sideways movements, towards an uptrending market, all we need to do is flip the previous high. So we need to form a higher high. If we start closing above the 5.50, then the real fun begins, because market structure is shifting from bearish to sideways to an uptrending market. Then we are also closing inside a bigger range. So if we mark the extremes, so the extreme at 23.5 and the low at 4.635. Why do I take this low and not this low? That's because we see a lot of interaction. We see it as support, acting as resistance as well. So what happens if we now form a higher high and we start closing back inside this bigger range? What often happens is once the price gets back inside a certain range, it will look for the other side of the range, because that's how markets work. That's how price action works. That's why when we on Bitcoin, when we close back inside the range of 17.6 till 25.2, which we are currently nearing, that's why when we close back inside, price starts pushing higher all the way towards the high. So there's still a high probability we are going to push another move higher towards 25.2. But also here on Energy Web Token, if you start closing convincingly above the 4.635 and above the 5.50, which is a higher high, then it's very likely we're going to activate much higher targets, which are the high at 6.85 and the 16 and 23.5. And if you're nearing this area, yeah, you're probably going to see new all-time highs as well. So that's a bit of the conclusion about Energy Web Token. Yes, locally it's showing it's showing nice signs of strength, so that's nice. But we need to break above 550 in order to start trending. As long as we stay below, we're probably going to stay here for a bit longer, keep consolidating, keep accumulating, and eventually when we start breaking out, then the real fun starts.
Thank you. That's, to me, a very clear analysis. Also in line with what I more or less knew, but I think this is a lot of information for most people here. And what we also know, what in the energy web community has been talked about a lot, is the fact that we've seen larger sales taking place. People don't buy immediately after the session. I see a 2,000 buy order coming in energy web right away.
Yeah,
Just
take a
kidding.
look at the weekly volume candle, which is extremely big, one of the biggest ever. It is already the biggest ever, so
That is
that's telling. That's
crazy.
telling a lot. And if we start looking locally, um, yeah, it seems
Oh,
there is something going on. This is not normal volume. Already before the pump, people are starting to buy, people are starting to accumulate. But overall,
something
I
interesting, yeah.
must say for a coin which is listed on KuCoin, which overall has a bit lower daily volume, Energy Web Token with a market cap of like 200 million is doing really well based on the volume. Really, really well.
I think so too. And the crazy thing is that when I was looking at the volume in the past days, that's when I decided to buy because I saw the price range between 360, 380 more or less, sometimes 350 or 340. Um, that was in the past few days, and that's when I bought at 3.5 something. I sold, I have to admit, at 427. People will not like me for it, but I do always buy back, so I got my Energy Web stack back again. Um,
That's your trading or investing stack?
it's my trading stack. I have an
Okay.
investing stack and a trading stack. So I have my playback, so to say, to move around a little bit and to grow my energy web token stack and a normal trading bag next to it. But anyway, so what we've seen and what a lot of people know is that there's validators and, well, not validators because they're being tracked presently, even though we saw low tree drop out. But we saw that, for example, founders such as Rocky Mountain Institute and Grid Singularity, like either one of those has been selling or an affiliate. We don't know for sure which one it is. We had analysis from the on-chain wizard, as I call him, Jeroen, who is part of the Energy Web community, and he's built the energywebchain.io, ewchain.io website, where you can track all the activity of larger wallets. Um, what I what I found interesting is that we've seen which which wallets have been selling, but we can't link them to any partner or anything. But despite that, we saw this breakout and we see the volume increasing. So something has been going on because all the sales have been absorbed as well. We don't really know from a fundamental perspective what caused these sales to be absorbed so easily and what caused the volume to increase this much because you know the Wizard and these other people that have been promoting us Energy Web Token in the past days, they only started after the volume was already increasing by a lot. So something is going on. I have my suspicions. I won't share all of it here. I talked about it a little bit in the Green Crypto Club on Telegram. But yeah, from my perspective, it seems as if we could be breaking out to that 550 range with a higher probability than I felt before. It's all subjective, of course, but my feeling says that something is going on that may lead us to break that 550 soon.
Yeah,
But
from a
it
technical
all depends on
perspective,
this one as well.
from a technical perspective, it just is looking pretty decent. If we break that 550, things could get out of hand pretty quickly because there's a saying: the longer the consolidation, the greater the expansion. So we're now consolidating for quite some time already. I believe it's like let's say 25 weeks already. If this starts breaking out, I wouldn't be the person who keeps flipping or taking profits for like 10-15% because it is going to move and it's going to move big.
Yeah, I took my position again. I'm not playing around anymore.
Good idea.
Gator's out. Yeah, I'm keeping my stack presently, but I think this is at least unless you have some other things that you wanted to add to your analysis. But I have said what I wanted to say, and I really thank you for your input here. Um,
You're
is there
welcome.
anything you want to add to it, or shall we open up for some questions, maybe if people have them?
No, I think the most important things I have already said. So let's go towards the questions.
All right. I'm not sure if there is any questions, but we will see. Feel free to talk in the channel. I muted one person, I think. I'm not sure who that was anymore because the sound was on and was disturbing through the talk. So if you want to talk, just unmute yourself, and if you can't, say it in the chat. Give it a minute. It's not a minute, but
Hey guys, can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thanks for the presentation. Very good TA, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm seeing exactly what you're saying, apart from also the kind of like downward sloping trend line that's being broken as well. That being said, the one thing that sticks out to me in this chart is that I agree that the buy volume is brilliant to see. However, what do you say versus the last time we had this buy volume? We actually ended up seeing a huge decline. So why do you think that would be any different this time? Because clearly we don't, just to finish my point, we clearly don't know what's going on. There have been no announcements. There's really been nothing linked to the project. So the trend lines being broken and sentiment being changed, there's natural liquidity is coming into the coin. That's fair enough. But why would it play differently to last time we had similar volume?
Yeah, that's the reason why I don't use the volume indicator as a leading indicator. So it's nice for some extra confluence, which is nice, because if the volume is really low, or even worse, when the volume is decreasing, it means people are less interested in energy web tokens. So for me, it's not a leading indicator. It doesn't mean that because of the volume, I think we're going to see like a moonshot going towards new all-time highs or something. But it's a good thing that we at least see a volume increase. It would be much worse if we start seeing lower and lower volume. That would be terrible because that probably means that the project is bleeding to death. At least in the market itself. Maybe not the project itself, but the interest in the market is decreasing. So that's my view on the volume. So I'm not saying because of high volume that we're going to see new highs, but it would be worse if there's a lack of volume. That's my conclusion I can draw based on that volume candle.
All right, thanks. I need to jump off now. I've got another call, but I appreciate the call. Thanks.
Yeah, no
Thank you
problem.
for your input, friend. And yeah, so I believe that we saw that sell-off from $23 in the summer last year. Was it last year? Or 2021 actually.
Yes.
And then 2022 we saw another drop-off again after the $15-16 range, I believe. It's just from the top of my head. I'm looking at the graph now a little bit, but so we've noticed that there is affiliates, and back then it was also validators selling their token rewards, right? So back then we had validators selling their rewards, and that led to more pressure because the validating rewards, the tokens that they received, there's quite a lot of tokens being received by these validators. So now they're tight, at least to a maximum of 10% of their holdings. Since then, we've also seen that Rocky Mountain Institute declared $15 million of revenue from token sales, energy web token sales. So, I mean, that could have helped as well in the decrease. And of course, there's the macroeconomic markets and the fact that we found the inflation very high, and that we've had this war in Ukraine, Russia going on. So there's a lot of different situations macroeconomically that also affected the price, in my opinion. But in general, there was always also a lot of sell pressure, especially from validators, affiliates, and founders. And I'm personally hoping that we see a decrease of that. And the fact that we saw these large chunks of energy web token being moved to exchanges, which doesn't indicate that they sell, but it could mean that they sell. It's very likely, in my opinion. But that was absorbed in this high volume candles without rocking the price too much. That is impressive, in my opinion. And that does show to me that something is going on. But that is just from my perspective in knowing energy web.
Yeah, I agree. It would be terrible if those tokens are being dumped on the market and price is also like capitulating, that we keep seeing lower lows, lower highs, keep moving down. That would be terrible, because it means that there's just too much sell pressure and a lack of interest. And that's not what happens here. We are seeing absorption of those orders. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, indeed. I see one question in the chat, by the way. It comes from XYZ Soccer. He asked, what do you think about these extreme lines coming to cross in May, zooming out back to 2020? Not sure if you can see that as well, Nick, if you see it in the chat.
Not sure which chat?
Your screen. In the Discord chat, sorry.
Oh, let me take a look. Where can I see? I don't use Discord very often. 1 second. Chat open.
There's a text balloon there.
Let's see. What do you think about these extreme lines coming to cross in May, zooming out back to 2020? All right. Let's draw this line. I think it's with log on, log scale. Let's draw from the highs. This is how I would draw the trend line, but I'm not really using trend lines. I don't have the price action history from earlier. I'm not sure on which platform we have saw those lower prices. To me, maybe can I show it? Not sure if I can show it, but also just take a look at the chat. To me, the high is valid. The trend line high is valid to me, but the lowest one, a bit doubtful. The thing with trend lines is it's subjective, because if I put this off, we have a different view. And if I draw it now, price has already broken out. And there are also people who are drawing it based on the candle closes. So like this, we've also broken out. So you can draw trend lines in all different ways, but you can draw a horizontal just based on one way. Or at least when you're drawing ranges, you can, there's always a certain amount of interpretation that makes sense. But horizontals, you either draw it from the wick or maybe from the candle close, but it usually lines up pretty well, even though you use wicks or candle closes. But if you use trend lines, it can have a lot of different outcomes, which makes it so hard to anticipate on a trend line. So my view on trend lines is you can use it for some extra confluence, but horizontals are leading indicators. So for me, it doesn't matter if we break down or if we break out from a trend line. All that matters to me is if we manage to make a high, if we manage to get a close above this horizontal. That's the most important thing to me. So a trend line is just for confluence. For me, leading are those horizontals and those market structures. So that's my view on it, and it doesn't mean that's the right way to view it on it, because in technical analysis and trading, there's no such thing as wrong or right. You need to find something for yourself that really works, what works for you. And everybody has a different opinion on that. Everybody has a different way to trade, a different trade plan, trade strategy. But yeah, you need to find out for yourself what works. And for me, I have found out that trend lines don't really work for me. So that's my view on it. So my conclusion to this is I don't really look at things like that. I don't use it. So for me, it has no value.
Good answer. I also see a question in the chat here. It's more directed at, well, not necessarily fundamentally, but it's more a question of knowing Energy Web and what is going on in there. Do you think that now a lot of Energy Web tokens are staked, this could cancel out the selling pressure of the validators in the next cycle? I was actually typing an answer already, but validators are already bound to a 10% maximum sale per month. So out of their holdings, they can only sell 10% maximum without getting warned and banned from validating after the first warning. Or in the first instance, they get locked from validating or blocked from validating for 2 weeks. So I don't think it will come from validators. The founders, Grid Singularity, Rocky Mountain Institute, and affiliates, they are free to sell. So sell pressure could definitely come from there. But I believe that the sell pressure from there does not weigh up to the volume that we're seeing recently. And so if there is really an event, something big going on fundamentally that will catapult the price, then I don't think that Rocky Mountain Institute, Grid Singularity, or any other affiliate that could be selling can block that pump, to be honest. And having Energy Web tokens staked by the community and by validators at some point, especially when Energy Web X is there, I don't think that will. I think it will help, of course. I mean, there's less selling pressure possible. Tokens are soft locked, so not locked as in you can't take them out. But I expect that mostly what we should see at some point is sustained volume increase like we see now, and breaking out of these lines that Nick has just explained to us. That will be my answer to that.
By the way, if you look at my screen, you can see the direct correlation with the tweet of Crypto Wizard, which has like 500 followers, 500k followers, maybe a bit less. After he tweeted, it was just a retweet. Price started pumping.
Yeah, interesting. And thank you, by the way, because I saw you mention my account to CryptoWiz and to Sivo, another account with 165,000 followers. Both of them started following my account after your tweet last week or the week before. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Right. I'd say let's conclude this, otherwise we make it a very long session. We want to upload this to YouTube as well. It will come to the Gator Green Crypto YouTube account, and we will do this on a monthly basis, as I explained. Thank you very much for attending in such a large number today. Even though I announced it very short notice, I think that we had about 16 people watching in, I think, at some point. So that was quite good, Nick. At least for a short notice announcement, I think it was. Let's see if we can grow this and if we can help you guys with trading Energy Web token. But as we always say, careful, because you can get left out trading it, especially when there is a token with this much potential. So fundamentally, there's a lot of potential, but we still think it's really nice to do some token analysis, technical analysis. But don't trade your full bag because you can get left behind. That's my personal. I don't give financial advice, but that would be my advice. Not trade with your full bag, because it would be a shame if you miss this when it eventually does take off.
Yes, keep your investing and trading bags separated always. Don't trade with your investing bags, because why would you start doing something based on short-term price action while you're investing for the longer term? So that's my advice for you as well.
Exactly. I've been left behind myself once before, so I'm not taking that risk again. I've had it once with Chromia token. I bought it at 1.5 cents and I sold it at 10 cents or something like that. I had a friend of mine whom I told about it, and he bought at the same price, and he made $60,000 profit out of $1,000 investment in a bit more than a month, I think. And I sold too soon, and I was too stubborn to buy back because I thought it would retrace. Then I got left behind. Eventually, it went to $1.5. Um, so that costed me a lot of money. I was
Yeah.
almost all in that token back then. So you don't want to have that, and in my case, you don't want to have that again.
That's the problem with low cap coins. I think 200 million is all right, and we have a lot of volume. That's nice. But especially the lower cap coins with like 10 million volume, 10 million market cap, maybe 20 million. Once that starts moving, you will get left behind, and you have to buy it way higher back because at some point it will not give you a new entry, a nice entry. So you have to buy it back for like 100% more, maybe even more, because at some point you just don't want to buy the pump. So you wait till it starts retracing. It doesn't retrace, it keeps pumping. You're going to chase because you have FOMO and because you think this project is a real gem. I need to get involved. And that's how you get wrecked in this market. So please don't do that. Only with your trading bag, no emotion, no bias. Trade it, take your profits. That's fine. But with your investing bags, you invest, you buy, you hold, and at some point you take some profits. But don't go like flipping for like 10-15%. That it doesn't work on investing bags. You will get left behind.
Exactly. That was a good horror story, by the way. Nightmare material for me tonight. Anyway, thank you very much for your time, everyone, and we'll keep it at this in order to not make it too long. Thanks again for attending, and see you next time. Have a good day, everyone.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.